So this is our Goldfish aquarium. It's a 65, I believe, Marineland aquarium. We are running a sponge filter and then an aqua clear 170 on this tank with a maxi filter 2 on the bottom. We put filter floss in the bottom of that. If I don't do that, I end up with guppies up the intake. So I'm not super excited about that pre-filter anymore. Much prefer the aquarium co-op filter sponge. But back to the fish. So in this tank we've got 4 goldfish, which you see front and center there. We've got our dojo loaches, there's 2 of those swimming around. There's a brown and a gold one somewhere, as well as 2 gouramis and these guppies. So there was more guppies in this tank, but most of them have migrated over to the 55 tropical tank because the goldfish are not producing enough waste that we don't want the extra bio load. Not that guppies produce a lot of bio load, but it's my wife's tank and she doesn't want them in there. Now the interesting part about this is the guppies were actually breeding in this tank. So we moved guppies in here last September that we bred outside. We moved them into this tank. It was all guppies that we'd bred ourselves. And they just continue to live in here, and the small fish that are in here are some of the babies that were born in this tank. So they haven't got moved over, some of the adults haven't got moved over, just because I don't want my angel to eat them. So I would rather let them grow up a little bit. Once they're bigger, we'll move them over to the 55-gallon tropical tank, and we'll get them out of here. The plants in here that they're enjoying are the Amazon swords and nacris, which you probably, if you saw the other video that I'm releasing today, was in the 55-gallon tank as well. You also see that goldfish kind of pecking at the Java fern, or Java moss I should say. Didn't realize I had any of that in there. Probably snuck in when I pulled this nacris from the 55-gallon tank. So I grew a bunch of this off of like one bunch last year outside. Pretty much had that other tank, my other tank, overloaded with it, and I just been pulling it out and putting it in the goldfish tank. And what the goldfish have been doing is they've been munching on it and eating it up. So there was about twice this much in here when I put it in here a month or 2 ago. You know, I put it in there to help with the ammonia, nitrite, nitrate, and the goldfish just kind of munch away on it and have a feast. And in that way I kind of preserve my sword plants that my wife picked out for this tank, so that they're not eating the swords as much as they're hopefully eating the anacris, because, you know, floating anacris, it's cheap. I'll do pawns again this summer, throw what I have left out there and just let it grow right back out and be able to breed more fish. So a lot of people are going to say, hey, you can't do guppies, you can't do gouramis and with goldfish. And in some ways, yeah, they'd be right. Temperature variations are going to be different. Temperature needs to be different. With the guppies, I was trying to go colder water for them, just because guppies originally were colder, a little hardier fish, and so I was trying to get back to that, trying to do multiple fish, and there was some issues there I explained earlier. But we've had fairly good success with these fish. I mean, we keep them at 72, 73, which is about what we're going to keep the house at. So, you know, when you realize that the fish are being kept pretty much room temperature, the gouramis seem to be doing well. I've got 2 of them in here. They kind of have enough space that they can get away from each other and have their own little spot and not have too much conflict in the tank. So I haven't had any issues in the months that we've had them in here in this whole aquarium set up. And so, I mean, it's not an impossibility that I will hopefully someday be able to set up a gourami tank with just the gouramis and a lot more of their different species. But right now, keeping them together is actually working quite well. I wouldn't suggest keeping guppies in a goldfish tank singly, because I have seen the big black one with the large female guppy in its mouth before. But as a breeding colony, it can be done. It's still not probably advisable, but you obviously see the fish will continue to grow, continue to multiply, and grow. You know, their numbers are going to increase despite the fact that there might be a little bit of predation on the fish. And if the goldfish do eat a few, it's food for them. And, you know, they're kept full enough that they really don't get hungry probably for the guppies as much, because there's always something to eat. You know, whether it's the Amazon sword or the anacris, or, you know, we had a bunch of not froglet. My brain is skipping. Anyways, we had water lettuce. There we go. I've had water lettuce in here. I've had water hyacinth in here. I've had duckweed in here. And the goldfish have always had something to eat. And so my guppy colonies, you know, have grown. I've lost some probably weaker fish, which I'm assuming the goldfish probably ate, because they just disappeared. But that's a little bit of just, you know, selection of the fittest here. Because I've had some fairly weak fish that came out of last summer, I think just from the genetics. Again, we had some bent backs out of that group, so probably not the healthiest sources of fish, unfortunately. I bought them from a couple of LFS's and the Petco, so I'm assuming some of the Petco fish were in poor genetic shape, because I'm hoping that those local fish stores do a little better job of selecting their fish sources. But sometimes you can't even tell, because those guppies always look strong and healthy and normal, and you don't know what's in their DNA until you breed them out. But hey, I hope that was educational. Hope you got to see something different. You guys have a great day. Bye.